would love to see some study that looked at how many of the people that wind up with type 2 diabetes have been on some diets throughout their
Right.
lives. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
would be interesting to know.
Yeah. And I think I don't know if we'll get there, right? Because the funding has to be there to do it. But I think what we will get in the coming years is there's so much power in obviously AI and what can be done um, through aggregating data through electronic medical records. For
Right.
example, one of the things that I always like to tell people is, you know, they may be looking at GLP-1s, but then they're like, hey, there's a black box warning for medullary thyroid cancer. And they've actually one of the big misconceptions about GLP-1s is that they're brand new and we have no idea how this is going to affect people long term. Well, with at least GLP-1 receptor agonism, I mean, we've had them actually out on the market for like 20 years. So it's not brand new. Um, and so what they're able to do is they're able to basically harvest and anonymize data from electronic medical records and look at huge swaths of the population. And so just like a couple weeks ago, there was a study that dropped that I think looked at like 4 million patients living with type 2 diabetes. A lot of times this data actually comes from the VA, which is super helpful. They do very good at just keeping great records on health and things like that. But basically, what they did is they looked at like 4 million patients who were type 2 diabetic, and they cross-referenced the patients with this anonymized electronic medical records data. They took everybody who was on like a first line type 2 diabetes treatment, whether it's metformin or I always love to talk about DPP4 inhibitors because I feel like those sort of laid the groundwork for GLP-1s and the science behind that. But whatever it was, and they cross reference it with those taking GLP-1 medications. And there was no increase or spike in that data between people on the first line treatment, non GLP-1, and people taking a GLP-1 for medullary thyroid cancer. Um, Honestly, and I don't know if you and Dr. Spencer got into this at all, but you know, it's in rodents that it was observed. They give these, in phase 1 trials, they load down rodents with exorbitantly high amounts of these medications to see if they survive it. So, if there's some crazy signal and they start keeling over, maybe we don't take that to human trials, right? But in those early trials, when fed super high doses of GLP-1s, these rodents developed an increase in medullary thyroid cancer. But rodents actually have certain cell receptors in their thyroid that humans don't even have for GLP-1, and so that's sort of the thought behind that. But all the real world data seems to be showing that that's not actually a real increased risk.
Why do you think I talked to Spencer and Dr. Mike Israetel, who isn't a medical doctor, but he's got a PhD in physiology. He's a very smart guy, and he knows how to read these studies. And both of them are completely unconcerned with pretty much any of the reported side effects, and both of them seem to express that the most concerning side effects are individualized, and so that's
Mhm.
just like maybe you will be nauseous if you take it, but this isn't even widespread enough to be of concern. It's just like that might be an individual reaction to it, but actually
Mhm.
the nausea isn't life threatening